Hello everybody, and welcome to a new series. We're going to be playing Project Zomboid. I'm going to try the ODT sort of playthrough, although with Zomboid there's a slight twist. We're going to be doing different players, we're going to be playing as different people, and each day is going to be their day at a time. And we're going to do our best to keep them alive, because in Project Zomboid, death is permanent. So I won't be playing myself, even though I like to do that sometimes in this game. What I'll be doing instead is I'll be playing a randomly named person. So yeah, let's get started. I have the font blown up to 2 times, so that way you guys will be able to read a little bit better. But we're going to be playing Apocalypse Difficulty, which is a stealth-focused, short lifespan, combat best avoided playstyle. The zombies can bite you, and it's classic zombie rules. They bite you, you're donezo. We're going to start it off in Riverside, because it's my most comfortable place to start. We're going to go ahead and do a random character, and then we're going to look over their traits and make some alterations. That's how we're going to do this. So we have a deaf chef who is a cook and is also a hiker. Looks like I have 2 bonus points here. We're going to go ahead and take short-sighted, and we're going to take we'll take weak stomach and prone to illness. And the reason why I usually take short-sighted, prone to illness, and weak stomach is because these perks here are pretty much 3 points. Prone to illness basically just makes you more prone to disease, but if you take this other trait, outdoorsman, you're not affected by things like colds and such as easy. So really the only illnesses that really affect you are things like zombification, which if you're going to be zombified, you're already donezo anyway. Weak stomach only matters if you eat bad food, and so we just won't eat bad food. And short-sighted is easily remedied by having some glasses. So that gives us some bonus points to work with, and all we do really is pay 2 points back for the outdoorsman. That gives us 9 points altogether. We're going to be deaf. I can't really recommend a deaf playthrough, so I'm going to have to take that off. As fun as that might be to run, I don't want to do that for a first time, which puts us in a -3 points, so we need to counteract that. I think what we'll do is we'll go with unlucky. What could go wrong for you often does. That just lowers our loot tables and different things, so we might not find the best stuff that's out there. So what this does for us is we'll have a 1-point surplus. We have prone to illness, unlucky, weak stomach, and short-sighted, but we're a cook, we're outdoorsmen, and we're a hiker, so we can do some foraging and trapping. So this is how our skills line up. We're going to be good with blades and maintaining them, stuff like that. So that's our character's traits and stuff. And so we have Kristie Faye. Go ahead and... Okay, so that's Chef's Pants. She is not at work. She just got off work, we'll say. And so she has a t-shirt. We'll go with a light blue. And yeah, so she just got off work. She's in sneakers. And she likes to wear a baseball cap, maybe. No, let's just leave her plain-haired. And yeah, so she's got ponytail braids. Kristie Faye. She's a cook. Alrighty, let's get started, Kristie. Let's see how your journey in Project Zomboid goes, one day at a time. I should probably read this. This is your story. This is how you died. So yeah, this game is kind of brutal if you're new. I'd recommend not being too hard on yourself at the very beginning if you decide to pick up this game, because there's a lot to learn. But it is probably the closest you can get to a zombie simulation set in the 1990s. Okay, we've loaded in. We're going to roleplay Kristie as having known about what's happening and has locked up in her house for like a week or so. So she's early morning. She's woken up and she started kind of like milling about the house, checking on supplies because she's starting to run low on food, and it's been a little while. She finds a pipe in the garage that she can use as sort of an improvised weapon, even though she prefers a blade. And she's going to come into her living room and remember that there's instructional TV shows sometimes. So she's going to turn to Life and Living and catch up on a cooking show. Maybe it can teach her something she doesn't already know. Today's the nourishing chicken noodle soup. Kristie's actually knows how to make chicken noodle soup already, but it's a pretty good idea to brush up on the basics, especially if you're going to be in rough situations where you don't know if you're going to survive or not. So, our cooking skill is going to go up. Yeah, it looks like we're already at a tier 3 in cooking, and we're raising up fast. We might actually hit tier 4 off of one show, maybe. We're lucky. Apparently not. That's okay though. We got dang close. Every day is a little bit new to learn and a new challenge. Oh wow, we got really close to hitting another... Yep. Well, that's okay. We got tomorrow. Hopefully. Okay, how to use generators. That might actually be important in things going so poorly. So Kristie's going to read that. So, unfortunately, Kristie did not start off with a watch, so we're going to try to do our best to get her a watch as soon as possible so we can keep an eye on the time. She must have left her watch at work or something. Okay. Kristie goes throughout the rooms of her house after catching the news and such, or not catching the news, but watching the show and reading a small little book on how to enable a generator just in case the worst was to happen. She comes to her bathroom and just checks on herself. It doesn't look like she needs to wash anything, as she goes to bed rather clean usually. So she's fine. She quietly moves through her house, shutting blinds as she goes, and prepares for unseen visitors that might be lurking outside her windows. She checks her kitchen, but as she thought, her food supply is running low. Even with the lucky can opener that she thought to buy at the convenience store before everything went down, it's still getting to a point to where she's down to a few canned goods and some odds and ends that might be useful for making something, but far from what she's used to making as her job as a cook. So she'll quietly just, well, not open the window. As much as the nice breeze is, she doesn't want to let anything inside. And taking a fork with you is sometimes nice when you have a can that you open and want to eat out of. Hoping it doesn't get that bad, but you never know what might happen. So she takes a quick bag of chips for her on the go that she saved just in case she was going to have to go out and explore. And she just makes a double check real quick upstairs to see if there's any other things upstairs that can help her out. Unfortunately, her roommates and friends have already gone out, and so she can't rely on them to come back. It's been days since she's seen them, and nobody has made it back home. She was following the stay-at-home orders for a while, but it's starting to get desperate. She's going to take a bandage from the kitchen, or not the kitchen, the bathroom, upstairs bathroom. And it looks like she's going to check in the master bedroom. There's a fanny pack, which might not be super fashionable, but will be nice to hold her can opener and spare battery she found. Maybe even the bandage. just holding on to little things here and there so that way she doesn't have to carry them around in her pockets. She finds a flashlight in the closet that she had forgotten about and brings it along with her. She checks on another room. She finds a pen just in case she needs to jot things down on some scrap pieces of paper that she might have. She finds a jar lid, but without any jar, it's not very useful. And having made her sweep of the house, she decides to go back downstairs and venture out into the day, hoping that she can remember where things are and get back with some basic supplies. She steps out, and at first, she doesn't see anything, but as she looks across the street, she sees the first couple of problems that she has to face. She sneaks towards her mailbox, remembering that she lives in the nicer part of the neighborhood, and honestly, if she could find a way to wall some things off, she might actually be able to stay here longer term. But that's a future problem. She needs to check the mailbox to see if anything came while she was sequestered at home. It looked like a magazine from one of her roommates is delivered. She's going to pick it up. She's going to read it later when she's back in the safety of her home. She checks her back, makes sure that nothing's sneaking up on her. But one of the zombies sees her, and she starts circling it, pushes it away, but it still comes. So after one final push where she falls to the ground, she breaks its skull. She feels bad, but she doesn't have any chance to think on it too much before another one comes, and she does the same thing. She sees a watch on the man and decides to put it on, noticing that it's almost noon and she knows that another show's about to come on. She quickly grabs the hand fork that she finds on the woman zombie, and she also grabs a blue ball cap just to make sure she can protect her eyes from the sun. Seeing nothing else of notice on anyone besides a yin and yang symbol that she doesn't really believe in, Kristie decides to sneak back into her own home. A watch acquired, at the very least. She goes back to the TV set where she knows that at 6 noon and 6, lovely television shows come on that she could probably watch and learn new things. She used to watch them at her job, but at home she can watch them just a little bit safer. Nobody's even called to reach out to her about coming back to work, so she assumes the worst. The show is carpentry, and so she learns how to hammer some nails and create what looks like a practice sign. Yeah, she's learning how to make a practice sign. She's learned how to be a carpenter, at least a very, very basic novice one, capable of making not many things, but at least knowing the difference between a ball-peen hammer and a claw hammer. Feeling satisfied that she's learned something new, she decides to venture back out again. Realizing that she missed a window the last time she came through, she quickly shuts it and makes sure that the blinds are pulled closed. She decides to exit out of the back of her house this time, worried that what she killed in the front of the house might draw attention. She decides to step out and sees one of her roommates. She pushes him, and she falls to the ground, and she stands over him for a moment, saddened for putting her down. Realizes that her roommate's stealing her clothes. She really loved her blue shirt, but it looks like it got ruined by a zombie attack. But she could at least steal her favorite sneakers back. And so she does. After making sure they've not taken any damage, she puts them on. tossing her roommate's sneakers down on the ground beside. She's starting to get thirsty, but she knows that she needs to do a little bit more exploration. She's always seen the neighbor's house, but didn't think too much of it, but realizes that even though there's other zombies around, it has another stretch of fence that she could maybe wall up if she can learn more carpentry skills. Moving along, she decides to check on another neighbor's house. Maybe if she could poke her head in, she could see what's going on. If anything else, if anyone had survived this epidemic that seems to be striking. She pokes her head around, but in the window she doesn't see anybody. And she looks out on the street after making her way around, and still no sign of anyone. Except for a few towards the center of town, the square. She goes up to the door and checks to see if it's locked. It is. And so, not wanting to intrude, she continues walking around, looking, not wanting to open up a window and cause any problems, but just double checking on things. She sees her neighbor, though, unfortunately, with a head wound, and she backs up, feeling bad about him. She does as she's done before and pushes him away, but he refuses to respond, and so puts him out of his misery. She decides that if he's been wandering outside, he won't mind too much about her wandering inside. So she tries to open the window that she comes to at the side of the house. She manages to after jimmying it for a little bit, and climbs inside. She shuts the blinds and notices that the house is eerily dark. She checks the bookcase and sees a book for farming. It seems to be the novice one, and so she picks it up. She takes notice of the nicer TV that the neighbor has always had, and she checks the closet for anything useful. It looks like she finds some sports equipment, and she also finds a book on cooking, but she already knows that one. But knows stuff about cooking that surpasses what the book can teach her. She goes to another room, carefully walking inside with her bar raised high. She finds another metal bar that she can put on her back, attaching it to her t-shirt to hold, and that way she can easily grab it in case she needs it. She doesn't think that there's any problem, so she leaves the dust mask behind, but she feels that if she keeps having to solve issues with killing people, or things that were people, she might want to wear something to protect her mouth. She wouldn't want to get infected. Seeing that her neighbor has a ton of food, she starts just taking it and throwing them into her pockets, carrying what all she can. She sees a kitchen knife and is very thankful to have it, knowing that she can do a lot with a knife, and he even has a hammer. Wow, she can start putting those carpentry skills to good use. She grabs his can of spaghetti bolognese, and while it's not as good as what she can prepare fresh, she's willing to take it. She moves along through the house, quickly checking another small room, finding a sheet, but knowing that her house has plenty of sheets along the wall and curtains, so she doesn't need to block out any light. She starts hearing noises and movement, though. She quickly checks the china cabinet and finds some white Ryan that she might want to use, just to kind of dull the pain a little bit. She comes back around to the front of the house again and starts checking, but she realizes that the noise is coming from upstairs. She comes upstairs and looks at the door. She doesn't see anything until that's when she sees it. The movement. She opens the door and throws her neighbor on the ground. Quickly, she dispatches him. Taking a breath, She realizes that he just got out of a shower and was still in his red trunks. How embarrassing. She starts moving from room to room now, checking on the neighbors' belongings. She doesn't feel bad because she knows that if something had happened to her, her neighbor probably would do the same. It's time to survive now. It's time to do what you can to make it through. Everyone she's come across to has become one of those things, and she's going to do her best to avoid becoming one of the same. She finds duct tape and a satchel in the back and his closet, an easy bag to carry things. She starts putting things into the bag that she's been carrying along in her pockets, pretty much throwing everything that's been in there into the bag. Quickly just throwing it in and hoping to sort it out later. She takes a few things that she had in her hands and on her back and makes sure that they're where they need to be. She puts a hammer and a knife back on her belt after hastily stuffing them in, and make sure that other metal pipe is on her back. Easily, with a little bit of string or what have you, so she could easily grab it and start using it to whack again, in case this one was to break. She checks another one of her closets and finds more duct tape and a saw even that could be useful in carpentry things, and duct tape for repairs on improvised tools. She finds a book on fishing and decides, fresh fish caught from Riverside might actually be a stroke of genius on keeping food. She just might need to find the river. She finds an eraser that's going to go good with any pencils or pens she might find. She notices that the chair is blocking the way to the cabinets, and so she picks it up and she places it out of the way. The day's getting longer, and she finds a pair of scissors in a filing cabinet. Takes it along with her too as well. Everything is useful until she decides that it isn't. And with luck, she manages to find a shotgun in a closet. She knows that these creatures seem to be attracted by noise, so while she takes the shotgun and sees that it's unloaded, she puts it in the bag and resolves that she has it and she might use it, but using it might not be the best option. She checks on a child's room and finds a book on tailoring, grabbing it up and deciding to take it with her. She also finds one on trapping and does the same. Her bag is full now, and so she starts carrying things in her pockets again. She checks the last room upstairs and comes across a sewing kit. Throwing that into her bag and a battery, she decides to make her way back downstairs. She checks the bag really quickly for the bag of chips that she brought, and realizes that she has a second bag of chips that she got from the neighbor, or maybe it was packed into the bag. So she eats it quickly, taking care of her hunger. She doesn't know if they were clean at their house, so she starts walking back to her house to get some more water. When she realizes that one of the zombies heard the noise and sees the viscera and came to the front of her house. She dispatches them quickly, having learned how to do so. The only worry she has is that she has to face more than one. It might not be as easy. She sneaks back into her own home, quietly moving, and resolves to put all the food that she found from the neighbor into her refrigerator. Anything needing to be refrigerated or frozen, she easily takes care of. Having realized that she's gotten less ingredients and more individual things, she resolves that she's going to have to go out again, but before she does so, she wants to take a drink from the faucet. So far as she knows, the water is fine to drink and appears to be not having any issues. She takes some things from a drawer up the far left and removes them before starting to place things that are not meant for the kitchen. Tools and things that she can't afford to carry around with her. While she's doing so, she quickly reads the magazines that she picked up earlier. It's 5:10, and so she decides that she's going to do all this and get a book and bring it over to where the TV is and finish the day out doing so. Watching a show and reading a book until it's time to go to bed. She puts batteries and sewing kits and bandages and wine. She puts the wine in another container along with a tea bag. But now that she has her books and all of her things are kind of packed away, she takes the books over to the living room area, throws one of them into the bookcase along with the magazine she's read, and takes tailoring and goes over to where... Oh, actually, she drops off farming and fishing while she's there too. I'm going to start with tailoring because it's needlework, and needlework's always important, especially if you're trying to be careful and ramshackle about things in what seems to be the growing apocalypse. She's trying to keep her mood up, but what she saw today is definitely striking. She does some organization of her stuff now that she has more storage capacity. And resolves to put things in specific places. She has enough room in her fanny pack for a can opener, a pencil, and an eraser. And so she does, after that, is take a fork and put it back in her pocket, because for some reason she never thinks to use it unless it's in her pocket. And she sits down with the tailoring book while the TV show is going off and talking about fishing. She sits and reads and reflects on the day, even as she learns new things from the book and new ways of doing things from the TV. She can't help but think about the 6 zombies she's killed today. Zombies. That's what they are. And she's killed 6 of them. One of her own roommates and one of her neighbors. 2 of her neighbors, actually, with a metal pipe. And after reflecting on all that and reading the book throughout the day, time seemed to just go faster and shift. To before she knew it, she started looking at her watch and realizing it was 9 o'clock. She got up, putting a book marker where she was at with her tailoring book, almost about halfway through. She goes to the kitchen, has a peanut butter and jelly sandwich made by a dead person, and gets a little drink of water again, and then decides to shut lights off and sleep in her living room with a metal pipe in her hand at night. She doesn't feel comfortable going upstairs. She needs to be able to hear in case they decide to try to break in. And so, that's where we end it today. Kristie, what's your last name? Kristie Faye. Kristie decides to end the day here, and this is where we're going to end the day on the episode. Thank you everyone for watching. This is definitely a different sort of style playthrough, and honestly I didn't know how I was going to do things, but the narrating how they're feeling and what they're dealing with seems like a good step in the right direction. If if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know. And I hope you guys have a good night or a good day or whatever time you find or watch this. Uploads for this content's going to be at noon, and I'm going to try to do it one day at a time like the other videos. I realize I'm adding a new series here and a new series there, but please enjoy. And if it gets to be too much, I'll start going backwards and limiting it down so that way I don't get too overwhelmed. Alrighty, y'all take care, and Kristie's going to get some sleep.